I'm Konrad. I'm the CTO of Astrato, and we are a visual analytics BI platform. And great to speak to you.
Yeah, Conrad, thanks for jumping on with me. The conversation we were just having earlier was really interesting because you kind of went into the approach of Astrata and your approach towards AI. And we're kind of mentioning how right now everybody's an AI company, but it seems that you guys are using this more as a force multiplier, as just kind of a way to enhance what you're doing. So talk to me about your approach and why you've chosen that approach.
So I will short go back to the topic of the AI company, because yesterday I was in a panel discussion at Airbyte, and it was really funny because one of the companies that told us, yeah, we are already even right from the beginning an AI company because .io was so expensive. So we just choose 3 years ago .ai. So we are now even AI, but it's like, even if we don't do AI, but it's like, you're right. It's at the moment, everybody try to be AI.
Yep.
And I absolutely see there is a lot of advantage that you can achieve with AI. So you can heavily already improve workflows. You can make things faster. You can make things more easy. But the whole problem of hallucination, and people see it in a bad way. I also see the good way of hallucination, but it doesn't help you to give you a easy to use business answer. You like,
Yep.
people are trying to have push down SQL, like English to SQL, or people trying to have, like, I have a system like, for example, Tableau Post, you just put in your business question and it magically gives you the perfect answer. And this is a thing that is just currently not working. Maybe in 2 years, maybe in 5 years, I don't know, because AI is incredible improving. But the main focus for us is we say, like, we help where it already works. And these are mostly the tedious tasks, the things that are not creative, the things that you need to pull something out. This is where it can absolutely perfectly support you, because it understands what is your task, and then it just replicates it in an adaptive way. But this is something there we are already integrating AI into our product.
Yeah. So as a CTO, it's interesting with your role because you're very heavily vested into your solution and into your product, but you're also invested into the solutions and products you implement into your systems and for your employees to use and for the business to use. So how have you adapted, or have you adopted any AI into usage for your employees or for from the business side, not just the product side? Or how are you approaching AI for your business right now?
So currently, like from the technical perspective, we are really trying out things. For me, I say, like an example, in marketing or
Mhm.
also in QA. Be honestly, I expect that a lot of manual QA work that is just like tedious tasks. Yes, you can do a end-to-end tests that are also hard to develop. They're easy to fail because they always need to adapt it. But I think there I can really help us. So these are things that I think already work and we already use them, but we really always test them. So I see the big advantage, but we are not following like just like that hype and say, like, okay, everything need to be AI. We just really test tools, and if it great works great, we just add it. And if it doesn't work, we just wait another half a year,
Right.
because maybe in half a year the AI model is that amount better, or that it's just the. I be honestly, if somebody like would tell me 5 years ago what we can already do now, I would say, like, come on.
Right.
Yes, I believe in Star Trek, but there are much more. There are more decades, but it's just amazing what they have achieved.
Isn't it interesting? And I love this point because I think about the conversation we're having right now about AI is going to be, like you said, totally different in a year and 2 years from now. And I kind of draw the comparison to the BlackBerry. And I know here in the States, the BlackBerry it was called Crackberry. It was the biggest thing ever, right? Everyone was
Yeah.
losing their mind. But if you wrote the story about cell phones, during the hype of the BlackBerry, it's a totally different story now, right? I mean, we're far surpassing what anyone would even imagine we're doing with a cell phone, with advent of the iPhone and other things like that. So you're seeing the same thing probably with AI. That's exactly what you're saying. You don't need to rush into anything because we're going to see such rapid advancement in AI. Is that correct?
Yeah, this is like for me, and I'm absolutely sure, and I'm just really happy to see what happens quite short with Apple, because you can already run quite good models on your local computer. And be honestly, an iPhone is quite similar with a decent computer in compute power.
Yeah.
So I just like, for me, it's just like I'm just waiting to get my local models. Still, again, there will be not perfect, but just a matter of time, like 1 year, 2 years, and I will even have maybe my transponder that I can ask for a medical question or whatever. I think the things that we will see in our life in the next 10, 20 years will be just like another massive change in the whole like daily life.
It's going to get very interesting. I agree. And I'm excited about it. Overall, I feel like I'm overall optimistic about the human approach to AI. But another thing I like is that you're approaching AI as a framework and you understand that. I think a lot of businesses that I'm talking to right now, and a lot of people still think AI, we're at AI, but we're not at real, I mean, truly at artificial intelligence, like, or true artificial intelligence or super AI with anything. But when you talk about a framework and the way you're looking at it, like with machine learning, you know, big data, deep learning, neural networks, those are the framework. That's the framework of what we're looking at. And to me, it all, like, the foundation of this framework really is the data. And we were kind of talking about data earlier and what you're doing with data and the manipulation of data. But data is really the lifeblood of AI. I mean, you can do some stuff with messy data sets, but the cleaner the data, the more organized the data, the better you can do. Elaborate on that. What do you think about that?
So for me, and I don't know if it is okay to say it in US, so maybe you can beep it out, but it's like usually in Germany, there's a phrase that is like shit in, shit out. This is like BI. So if your data set is not proper, the analytics, what you do on top is just not better. But for me, AI is like shit in and then
Yep.
shit out by power of 5. So it's like if you have not a proper data set, and this is what you usually nearly all the companies struggle. I will be quite honest. I was for many, many years also in the BI consulting area. I was also a head of a big consulting firm. So we had a lot of projects and it is mostly struggling on the quality of the data.
Yeah.
And so this is like also the reason why I don't at the moment see with the current AI, not the solution, because the current AI can only work on the data like that it's getting, and the data is not good enough.
Yep.
I'm assuming as soon as we have models that are so big that they can really take the content of the data. Currently, they can mostly work on metadata or a little bit of statistical data, but they cannot, for example, take a table with 10 billion rows and put it into an AI model and then analyze it.
Yeah.
But this is just a matter of time. There's Moore's law, there is optimization, whatever. This is just something that somebody else solved it for us. And I think if we are getting to that time, and this is maybe in 2 years, maybe in 5 years, it will totally change, because then the AI can even go through the data and say like, okay, I found here, for example, in that column that a lot of things are just differently written because of casing, or that are spaces between and so on. And say they can also ask, should I improve it for you? And then I think if we are getting to that point, that it can really truly go through the big data set and learn out that one, and even learn out of your company of the history, but just freely, like more as a super AI or however it's named. Like
Yep.
they're like, I think we will also have another new names everywhere around there. I think yes, then it will change, but with the current situation, you can just help people to be faster.
Yeah, absolutely. And I like that analogy. And yeah, no need to edit it because it's a perfect analogy for data. I really like it.
Yeah, sorry, but it's fine.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. I think it's funny. I was reading something, I can't remember where, and they were comparing it to AI right now as arguing whether or not the puppet with the ventriloquist is real or not real, right? If someone's actually talking and, you know, the ventriloquist, that right now it's all control. It's a puppet. Like that's what AI is right now. It's really controlled. But to your point, we might get it in a good way, in a bad way. We're going to get to where AI is not so controlled, right?
This is again there, then we are thinking about matrix or whatever. It is like the way it's like still, but also like why I don't have any kind of fears. I think one of the biggest advantage of us as a human person is like as humans, we can adapt to a lot of things.
Yeah.
You see people, they are living already thousands of years on the North Pole. There's like the weather is so harsh. We have people they are living in Africa, or in India, there's so freaking hot. We have people they live in dry areas like nomads. We have people they are living in very, and this is, I think, one of the big advantage. Yes, you need to adapt. So it is not easy for people because the change is much faster than 10 years ago, than 100 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine when the gas was invented, gaslight.
Yep.
It took nearly 50 years because the majority of the people, I say, like, for
Good
example,
point.
in Europe or in US had. When we invented the first cell phones, it took only like maybe like 5 years before the majority of the people had that.
True.
And now we are getting the same thing. So the time that things change getting shorter and shorter. This is, I think, a big problem for a lot of people. And it's also, I think, a big problem that we currently see, even to make it a little bit wider in the society with political things, is we have a technology that is changing so fast
Yep.
that even political processes, government processes, or even just like social processes, they need longer to adapt. And this is something, let's see how it's going. But I'm absolutely sure we will solve it. However, we will solve it, but we will solve it because we are adapted already. And like, I could born 2000 years ago and I could survive, and I can be born now. So it's like just a baby can learn everything. And this is like where we just learn and be adaptive.
Absolutely. And you bring up an interesting point when you talked about, or it's almost like a great segue into my next question. And you talked about government and society and everything like that. So I've had guests on from Italy and guests on from the UK. You're my first guest from Germany, so thanks for joining me for the first with that.
Happy.
But when I'm talking, I notice there is a big, I won't say a big difference, but there is a difference in the way Europe adopts technology, especially with AI. And it seems like Europe puts more thought into governance and ethics first, and then into implementation second. In the US, it seems like everyone's just jumping on the bandwagon without ethics in mind. Not everyone, right? But a lot of people, they don't care about whether it works. They're just like, let's just see what happens and do it. What do you see in Europe? And also I'd be interested in how Germany is and kind of the guidelines, and if it's restrictions or guidelines, or how they're approaching it in Germany as well.
I will first start a little bit different, but I will then go to your topic. And the main reason is like, I usually also do security questionnaires with all the clients and even large enterprises. And the funny thing was, for me, just roughly 1 month ago, the first US company asked us, oh, do you also have it in US so that it's keeping locally in our system? Because before it was like the US, they don't care where it runs.
Right.
And it was always that we had in Europe, GDPR and things need to protect it. But I see that even this one, just step by step, even roll back to the US so that the people think much more, what is data security? Should it already be also in another area and so on? And as much as I like the US think big and also like just try it out mentality, I also have the topic that and this is mostly there I was born, because I was born even in the GDR and like in East Germany. So I was a divided area, and it was like to the like communist times. And for me personally, it was totally crazy that my cousins from the western part could just travel to us, and I was a kid, I couldn't travel to them. So freedom is something that is for me important. And freedom is for me not only like that I can live somewhere, but for me is also freedom. And this is something that I see very critical, is how things get analyzed with the data. And this is something that I think my personal freedom is already getting smaller. And this is something that I don't like. And I think where we should have that balance. Still, I think we are too slow in Germany to adapt to new things. We have currently no real customers because the companies thinking about to move the data into the cloud. They have projects, but they're not there. If I'm talking to the US guy, I say, yeah, since 3 years, everything's the cloud. So we are, I think, like in my eyes, really too slow to adapt. But I still like that we always also try to have the bigger picture. Does it have an impact on people? And yes, you can always then come to the things around, for example, from Owen's 1960 or 1960A or whatever, that book. It's like, yes, if you don't do anything wrong, why you don't want to be supervised? Because I just don't like it. It is quite just, it generates a feeling inside that it just like doesn't make me feel well. And this for me belongs to it. So this is the reason, this is something where I mostly see critical, but still absolutely. For example, I currently in Snowflake, and I was last year on the Snowflake conference. Next week I'm on a Databricks conference. I just like the cars, the full self-driving cars without people way more driving around. This is for me cool. This is like maybe also like more an early adapter, but this is what I really enjoy here, to being in the US and to being in San Francisco.
Yeah, those are some really profound points right there. I like that, and and the experience too. I think you can relate to some things even from a philosophical standpoint that I think a lot of people can, because of where you were born and what you experienced during that time. So that's that's super interesting. Now, you also touched on security, and, you know, over governance and not enough governance. But there's a couple ways to look at that. But a lot of people are concerned, of course, and maybe rightfully so. AI is going to open up security holes within companies. And I think, of course, but also AI is going to provide more security just because of its quick behavioral analytics and, you know, and the way it learns and goes about it. But do you have any specific concerns about security with AI, maybe deep fakes, maybe meaning like impersonation of people or things like that, or more social engineering type of aspects to it? Have you looked, because I know as a CTO, it's always top of mind. So
Yeah,
what are some of your thoughts with that?
yeah, it's absolutely top of mind. I think like in general, the topic is we need to learn that we cannot anymore trust the video. As hard as it is, we
Yeah.
just absolutely need to learn that. This is more easy for a baby that is now born because that is born in the world. But for example, if it is now a 70 years old person, it is hard for them to learn that the video is not anymore can have any kind of evidence. But for example, and this is going back to our social, the issue is it doesn't have any kind of evidence on the court, and the courts need to learn it.
Right.
This is quite hard because still they think, hey, come on, I have that surveillance camera and it was clearly showing that this person is going left to right. The deepfake can be that amazing good that it's nearly impossible for that lawyer or for that to find that out. And the difficulty here again is like that courts usually are slow in adapting and technology is quite fast. And I think we have heavily seen that also like around, I don't know how strong it was in the US, but it was very strong in Germany that during the time then file sharing was big, like a lot of people were even tracked by their IP address, but it was dynamic IP address and it was not anymore that person. So a lot of people like got big penalties, but they did nothing wrong. There was, for example, also like really old grandmas that just had like their simple computer. They even don't know what file sharing is, and they should pay $5,000, $10,000 for something that they never did. But it was like, it was clearly the IP. I just have here the log. So here's it. And I think it's something we need to learn. And this is something that generates some fear from me because I cannot really fully trust it, but I think we will learn it. On the other side, I'm be absolutely sure is the only security issues in companies are the human beings in front of the computer. This is my absolutely clear opinion, because all the social engineering, all the viruses, all the things, how they usually get in because of the person in front. So for example, someone is going through a campus and just like leave there some USB sticks and people just put them on, or all the other things that happens. If I'm constantly analyzing what happens. Yes, sometimes there are really cool hacks that are just technical ones, but this is very rare. Very often there is like the people click on the wrong link, they have something in an email, they acting, or for example, the payment, all the payment fraud that they're doing is they call somebody. And even for example, in our company, we have a kind of philosophy that we even joke about. So for example, if I'm getting that emails from my CEO, Martin, I just internally in my Slack post and say like, oh yeah, Martin, I just needed to transfer 200K to someone. And say like, oh yeah, I just should instantly do it. Yeah. So, and this is very important to get that kind of like, you need to educate the people in your company that they think about it. And this is for me belonging to a culture thing, that the people, and rules doesn't work. But what really proper works is the people have a culture to openly speak about risks, openly speak about mistakes, maybe even openly speak about, yeah, I just click on that link and now something weird happened. Can somebody instantly help me? Instantly, what happens is everybody just jumps on, check it. Maybe we take something down. But if people then try, oh no, I just close it, then you instantly get an issue. And this is something that I think the most companies should encourage. And there's a really good example that I've read about. I don't know if it is also in other airline companies, but I read about a big European airline company. They have cards that they print out in the rooms they were sitting for pause or they were drinking coffee, that they put in the stupid mistakes that were done in the last month. So for example, someone was like not checking a break or like was not filling enough, whatever. And the main important thing is all these people, if they do things, they think, oh, I cannot fail. But if they see what others fail, they think, oh yeah, oh, this really a pilot happened that was 20 years working. oh, it can also maybe happen to me. To generate that kind of culture, I think there's the most thing that help. AI can partly solve
Yep.
things. It will also partly increase things. But
Yep.
again, I think this is not the big thing.
Yeah, yeah, interesting. I think they call that layer 8 of the OSI model, right? The human layer. That's the
Yeah.
that's the biggest that's the biggest problem. I think 75% or something like that, like you were mentioning, of all attacks start at that human layer, right? And it is interesting. Another thing that I think with security that's interesting right now is a lot of companies don't have a good grasp on what generative AI models their employees are using, because human nature is to be more efficient at your job, get things done faster, do things better. And it's with good intent. It's not always like ill intent. And so I believe
Yeah.
a lot of employees are using generative AI models within the company and could be putting, not could be, I mean, we're finding that they're putting proprietary information about, like, using generative AI models, but putting proprietary information about the company in there to enhance their job. So I'm a big proponent of using and implementing your own business's a secure generative AI model that allows your employees to use generative AI and use the functionality of it, but without compromising personal data. Does that make sense? Has that been on your radar?
It's up on our radar. Again, there, I don't see it from my perspective as a lower risk.
Hmm.
For example, I see a person that is just like by intention working in my company to steal data as a much higher risk. And I
Yeah.
think this is that we constantly see. We have a very strong like work from all like public paid security companies or like, but we also have it privately. I think there's a really big market around there. And this is something for me that is much more concerns me than just that a person puts something into OpenAI and that they maybe learn in the model. But even if it is in the model, how does it really affect something that is getting out? So I think what is, for me, it's somewhat even a lot of companies, for me, over-regulating it.
Sure.
Because they don't understand it. Yes, I also get that in the beginning we don't understand it. So like, okay, like just stop it, like full stop. We make a rule. It is forbidden in our company to use ChatGPT or whatever.
Right.
Um, I get that because that kind of way is the feeling, okay, I just make a rule and now it's safe. But the topic again, like, is the person. Because
Yeah.
if I, for example, forbid it on the computer, what the people do is they just have a private phone and they just put it in there.
Exactly. They'll do it no matter what. Yeah.
And this again, like, this is the layer 8. It's like
Yeah.
a human being. So for me, it is much more important to educate the people
Yes.
what they should put in and not. It's like to make that rule is feels simple, but it doesn't help. And
Yep.
this is, I think, going back from me, mostly go to the last question back, is like our also our way is we educate the people how to use the AI.
Mm-hmm.
And like how to use it proper, and also like to think about what I should copy in and what I maybe should not copy in, just to have that kind of balance.
Nice. Yeah, that it's a lot to think about, but you're right. There can be like an overreaction to it. Now, I'm thinking back to your conversation about self-driving cars, and I had this thought the other day. I want to get your take on it. So I was thinking, every time a self-driving car, so an AI-driven car, ends up and tragically kills someone, and it is unfortunate, but when it happens, there's an uproar, right? And you read
Yeah.
about it in the news. But I know in the US, I don't know what it is, but there's thousands of traffic deaths per day in the US, or at least hundreds of traffic deaths per day, if not thousands. And I'm wondering what the human appetite will be if self-driven AI cars prove to be more safe, and let's say it can reduce traffic fatalities and drunk driving and all this other stuff by whatever the 50, 40, whatever the percentage is, but it removes control from the human, and humans still make the error and kill people. Is that human error and deaths and, let's say, tragedy in a human error going to be more acceptable than tragedy in AI? Do you think we're going to stop AI innovation just because we've lost control from a human, or we've lost control from humanity? Does that make sense?
So for me, I was even discussing exactly the same thing, but just in a different context. And I would just give a different context because I think it's even make it more clear.
Yeah.
Imagine you have your little girl. That is your baby. It's 1 year old and you get into a hospital.
Mm-hmm.
And you have in the beginning a computer that say like, okay, this is the thing, what happens? Or what is the issue? What is that? And if you can even statistics show that the computer only make a mistake once in 1,000. And if a human being makes like 10 in 1,000, still the majority of the humans prefer to accept that the human did a mistake. So this is something that is like for us, because a machine need to work. And this is, I think, what we have maybe in our DNA, I don't know, maybe it's also like a culture thing, but we have that very strong thinking, a machine need to perfectly work. And if a machine do a mistake, it just need to be fixed. We just need to ask, okay, what gears need to be changed a long time ago? No, what code lines need to be changed? But it's like that kind of expectation that a computer just always return the correct answer. And going back, I think there was an Intel processor bug. I think it was like 15 years ago, 20 years ago. It was a very rare case that the Intel processor was making a calculation mistake with a floating point number and then some digit. And it was a big hype around. I think never ever somebody was really affected by it. Just some scientists found it out, and then it was a big hype. And that's the same thing here, is we are expecting from a machine that it perfectly work. I will even do it now differently. Going back like to trains, you will have quite soon also like fully auto AI-driven trains.
True.
People are throw themselves on front of the train. What can the AI do better?
Right.
Nothing. Still, if an AI train would kill a person that was throwing themselves on the track, that will be big in the news.
Right.
What happens if it is somewhere else? And if a human being sits in there and the human being have really strong psychological problems after it, nobody even reports on it. And I think this is something like going back to the cars. I think even if the numbers are much, much, much better, still people will expect that. And I don't know how strong it's in the US, but even in Germany, it was for me totally crazy. Many, many years, if you were drunken driving and you were killing somebody, you got less years in the jail than you were not drunk. Because, yeah, you were like drunk, so like you don't have full control. But it's like you decided to drink.
Right.
So how can it work? But I think this is the same level, just on a different
Interesting
layer. It's like the same thing. It's like, yeah. So unfortunately, yes. So I'm more a person that can live with that one, but I know that the majority of our society doesn't can. So there's a reason we need to accept that.
Yeah, so much to think about and unpack. And that's actually one of the things I like about AI is how multifaceted the conversation is you can talk about the technology of it. You can talk about the humanity of it. You can talk about the psychology of it, the philosophy of it. It just is right now, it's a really fun conversation to have, because I don't want to say we're new, because obviously AI, Turing back in 1940s, 1930s, 40s, and 50s had really worked on those machine models. And so AI and the thought of AI has been around a while, but the buzz and the hype around this, it's fun, it's exciting. But have you ever seen in your technological experience anything that's had this kind of buzz or hype or expectations?
It's a good question. I believe at the time, yes, but in the past, I just forget it. Because I think like it's always different. Like a lot of things are easing, like it's like the quarterback Monday. Yeah, it's like it is very easy if you look back. It's like yeah, okay, come on, it was easy, whatever. Yeah, but during that time, this was just like you were like just wow, it's just amazing. And I think this is the same thing here. So I think like in 5 years, for example, like my youngest kid is 6 years old. He's just getting now in, but I think for him it will be just like so normal that he said like, hey, what's fancy about it? Yes, I just use my iPad and just put on and just ask, and he just properly answered. So like, what is fancy? But for me, that was born in a complete different decades, yeah, it is completely different.
Yeah, it's going to be in that younger generation. It's already interesting. I saw a video where they were asking like a teenage girl about like, what is a jewel case? What are the yellow pages? Like things that like and she was like just making up the most random crazy stuff because she had no clue what it was. Yeah. This generation is going to be a different generation with AI and the way they utilize it. So it's going to be interesting. Let's see. So last thoughts here. I want to give you last thoughts. What's your maybe something around adoption to new technology or embracing or resistance, or how you, as a CTO, how you go about change, because technology is constant change. And even now we're going to see it even more. How do you go about change as a CTO?
For me, but this is for me not only as CTO, it's also like personally.
Hmm.
I'm I I like to build Lego, but I don't like to play with it. And this is the same thing here is
Okay.
I like that constant change. For me, this is just exciting.
Yeah.
But I also have a lot of people in my company, they don't like it. They just like to have consistency. They want to
Hmm.
have this one. So for me, I am a person that's just looking only positive into that one and just like if everything comes out, I just instantly like try it out, check it. And for me, it's always just like, and check if it is at the moment good enough, use it. Not good enough, just check it later. So it doesn't mean that it's shit, but it's like it is just not working at the moment. It maybe works in a half year's time, whatever. And this is like the whole topic around AI. I think we are still in the beginning. The good thing is what I usually you have that kind of hype curve. So it's going up, you have the hype, and then you have that valley of frustration, and then you're getting slowly into adoption. I think the funny thing for me is for that kind of open AI, for me, it feels like that we have all at once.
Hmm.
So we have at the same time the hype and we have the valley of frustration.
Hmm.
Whereas the people on the same time complain. And I think even we will quite soon even get in the same time quite fast into the phase of that kind of adoption to really use it in daily life compared to the whole, for me, first AI trend that we have seen around machine learning.
Mm-hmm.
Machine learning really had for me that trend, especially around data. It was like, oh,
Yep.
now we can learn everything. But what you have seen is companies, and I was during the time at Deloitte as a big consultancy firm, they spend millions of
Yep.
millions into big data science teams. They put everything data lake, try to do everything with machine learning, and nearly nothing got productive. Nearly nothing.
Yep.
It was like, and then there was also like that really big frustration. It was like just great frustration, yeah,
Right.
because like the CFO or the CEO was getting to the CTO or CTO or whatever and was saying, okay, you got now here that 100 people, you work 2 years, what is productive? And then we select nothing. That doesn't fit.
Yep.
Yeah. So, and I think for me, the now really crazy situations that we have all at once, and I just like so excited to see what we have in 1 year.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. So thank you for jumping on with me. I know like your time's super valuable. So just your insights were amazing. I'm excited for everyone to watch this because you have a lot, again, across the board from philosophical to a little bit of psychology with it. And it was just an overall fun conversation. And I appreciate you jumping in it with me. And again, thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks also.